Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started.
Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here with Angela Hiley with the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast.
What's up, bitches?
What's up, what's up? You heard it. You heard it here first.
What's up, my motherfuckers? Da-na-na-na-na-na.
So, I'm actually dialing in the sound while you're singing there.
Yeah.
So you might have heard it go up and down a little bit during that intro. So go ahead and adjust your stereo dial because you are coming into Tactical Podcast Zone.
That was pretty good.
So we are talking about today. Something I haven't really talked about in a long time. And I was just reminded. I was listening to some motivational stuff earlier this morning, and was listening to some Jim Rohn, and then there was a guy who actually mentored Jim Rohn, and kind of reminded me of something I used to talk about in the past quite a bit, and that is in business, planting seeds.
Plant them seeds.
Well, not only in business, in life. Planting seeds continuously. I think the juvenile side of us and a lot of people, especially people that are broke, is that they expect the moment that they fucking plant a seed that it should just poof, and just grow right in front of them. But fortunate for them, because you wouldn't want to, the moment that you thought of something or the moment you did something, for it to immediately spur into action.
Yeah. When you're a kid in school, don't you remember, they make you grow grass or maybe do a whole lima bean or something?
I must have been macking hose when I was in that class.
Well, the whole grass thing, they give you a little egg carton and you have some soil and you put your seeds in there, and they teach you how to take care of it and tend to it and to watch the progress and also be patient.
Right, and you gotta wait, and that's the way anything is in life. I mean, literally, but you gotta tend to that seed. You've gotta water that seed. More importantly, especially when we're talking about in life, you gotta believe that seed is coming. Because if it's a lot different when you put a regular seed in the dirt, you know that it's going to come, you know that it's going to grow, you know that it's going to come up. But if lightning strikes it, hail hits it, something like that, it's definitely going to kill that plant. But we have the same thing that happens to us with our negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And and not only the negative thoughts, with fear.
Yeah.
I would say fear of what other people are going to think has killed more dreams than failure ever has.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad. That's really sad, though, because
people isn't
that somebody else just projecting their fear on someone else?
That's internal. That's the individual's issue. Mm-hmm. So they are projecting perceived fear from other people's criticism on themselves. It's literally, you're your worst enemy.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely true.
And I mean, in all
honesty,
all
the time.
Yeah, in all honesty, the only thing that's holding any of us back, is literally a simple walk to your mirror and take a look.
Yeah.
Because you are the only person that's going to set any limitations on yourself are going to be set by you. Mm-hmm. Any laziness or any moment that you don't get up and do something that you should be doing is all on you. Mm-hmm. Anytime you allow somebody in your life that shouldn't be there, that's on you.
That is
whether
true.
it's friend or whoever,
Yeah.
I mean, the moment that we say that it's somebody else projecting their energy on us, we actually disable ourselves to live that mediocre life. Actually, we strip ourselves with the power to actually fix it. Because if it's something outside of ourselves, how can I fix it?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole thing I've said in the past, and we talked about things like business, relationships, stuff like that. And I used to go on and on about the relationship side of things that, like, you cannot say, well, I'd love to have a good relationship, but she's a bitch. Because now you're literally putting yourself in a position where it's outside of yourself. It's out of your control. If it's out of your control, then there's no way that you can fix it. And the truth is, the only thing that you have to be the change that you seek in the world.
Yeah.
So if you seek a change in a relationship, if you seek a change in a business, you have to change first.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't sit there and go around and be blaming a certain individual for all your problems. And this is what caused you to go out and do this and do that. Isn't that like almost kind of like a victim mentality in a way? When you're,
That's exactly what a victim mentality is.
Yeah, when you're basically going out like blaming a certain individual and, oh, they did this to me and they did that to me and this is why I went out and did this. And it's like, no, motherfucker, like, you're not taking responsibility for your own actions.
Hey, if you ever want to get yourself out of a victim mentality, just think of Ray Charles. All right, think of Ray Charles. Was born when a black man really didn't have the let's just say the opportunities that they have today.
He was born in the era.
He was born in that era, right? Blind.
Where everything was against him.
Right, blind.
Yeah.
Had to learn how to play piano and sing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many obstacles that individual overcame. That just makes you look like, wow, my little obstacle that I have about my mommy treating me bad is, really doesn't, in the long scheme or in the big picture, really makes me look weak as an individual that I wasn't able to overcome that. But look at some people that have overcame things that are just wildly insane.
Yeah, and like I've said time and time before, like those individuals don't even like consider themselves a victim or even carried that mentality like whatsoever.
I seen that there's a kid that was on TV. There was a show about this kid, and he literally was out. He's blind and deaf and was out riding a bike. And he would do this. He would go kind of like you flick the bottom of your tongue on the top of the roof of your mouth and you make that sound. He was feeling the projection of the sound. The kid learned how to overcome being blind and deaf.
Well, they always say that, like, the senses that you're unable to use, the ones that you are able to use, like, they become your, your strong suit, and that's what you focus on.
And I kind of seen this in business where, I kind of knew, there's a lot of laws out there, and one of them is like the law of average, there's a lot of, like, everything falls into a specific law. And whether that's from being happy or whether that's from gaining money or becoming wealthy, or whether that's from gravity, the law of gravity. Gravity doesn't care if you're a sinner or a saint. If you're a saint, you can jump off the edge of that building and you're still going to be a saint on a sidewalk that is no longer here.
Yeah.
Regardless. And it's the same way with business, with wealth, with money, right? But the thing that doesn't line itself up with wealth and money is the law of what actually makes you happy. So what happens is some people can go on and win, and even subconsciously win on all the laws that it takes to win in business and win at making money, but they're breaking all the laws of happiness.
Yeah.
You could follow both laws in tandem. And I've been reading some books that's so interesting. Ralph Waldo Emerson, he talks a lot about how it's like, have you ever seen them people that stand up on two horses, or they got two horses and they got one foot on each horse's back?
Yeah.
And, it takes some talent, right? It takes some effort. But he was actually talking about that being the connector, like writing the connection between your soul and your body, your soul and your flesh. And if you look into a lot of the old business talk of that era, that 1800s talk, when they were merging kind of Eastern religion into Western religion, or what was currently becoming Western religion, you heard them talk a lot about mincing that soul part, with the flesh, because the flesh, meaning that is where sin comes from. Is where desire comes from, right? Is where inadequate thoughts come from sometimes. So like literally, you could be seeking something for your flesh, like worldly things, like money and all this kind of stuff, but you're breaking all these spiritual laws that go against your actual spirit and your soul, which then will cause you nothing but internal pain. So you're trying to gain happiness by becoming wealthy, but you realize that you've just broken all of your internal laws, the internal, your internal standings, where you judge your own self. Okay, the things that you judge your own self on, you're breaking them laws to gain that wealth. So because of that, you cannot live in happiness. And he talks a lot about that, about being so self-aware that it's like riding that horse. You got your flesh on one side, and you got your spirit and your soul on the other side, and you're standing on top of them, whipping two horses and getting them to go in the same direction.
For some reason, we had this conversation with Jonathan, but it went kind of veered off. Didn't you tell him that's what you wanted to we wanted to go somewhere, and you're like, no, I'm going to go riding in with standing on my two horses or something of that nature.
I say all kinds of shit all the time.
And all I could think about, I don't know if that'd be good on your knees. We don't need you getting hurt.
And and I think a lot of people, they might be thinking I'm kind of getting religious on them, which I'm not really, actually, because what sin is not, it's not really. I mean, I know that it's mainly used in the Christian religion, but ideally it's just when you turn away from yourself, or when you go against who you are inside. And I know it's so debatable, and you guys are thinking about this guy and that guy and this and that, but whatever. I don't worry about what anybody else, I don't want to go into debates or deep thought about this guy did this, but what if he felt that it was right and all this kind of stuff, because that's for God to sort out, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it. That's for them to sort, okay? That's not for me to sort. I know in my life and my personal feeling and my personal being, I know right away when I do something that's against my core beliefs or my core values.
Yeah.
And from my greatest understanding, that, my friends, is what a sin is.
Yeah, I always just figure, I'll be watching the news in the morning or something like that, and they'll be talking about so-and-so got arrested in this case and blah, 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 and I'm just like, well, and then on Facebook, everybody has an opinion, but I'm like, listen, I was like, that guy's going to have to answer
what
God
it is,
one
though?
day, and I'm like, that'll be sorted out between them.
Everybody, it just seems like, not none of you guys, y'all are cool, right? Everybody else, and probably some of you guys that are listening need to hear this, because we got just a bunch of judgment motherfuckers out there, man. You know what I mean? That just, you want to just sit back and armchair quarterback and just judge any fucking person. There's something wrong with you, man. You know what I mean? If that's all you do is sit back and judge this person and judge that person, I mean, that's a serious character flaw right there.
Yeah.
Because the truth of the matter is, I mean, you've heard the old saying, when you're pointing your finger, somebody else is pointing their finger back at you. Or when you talk about, what did Jesus say? He said, when they're picking the when they're picking the wood out of your eye, they can see the plank in theirs. You know what I mean? Basically meaning people who judge got a bigger fucking issue that needs to be judged, likely a big time issue that that needs to be judged, or that they're judging themselves on at the same time. It's a deflection. It's like, oh, I don't really want to.
Totally is.
I don't want to look at my internals. I don't want to look at my internal issues. So let's point at this person because they're the bad guy. I'm not the bad guy. They're the bad guy.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of horse shit. And she knows I really don't like the news.
I like to watch the weather, but then,
she gets into all that shit.
Some stuff I get a giggle out of, okay?
Yeah,
I get a giggle out of some stuff.
Trump keeps you going, doesn't he? Making you laugh.
Oh, God, I swear. Like, I'm not into politics like the way I used to. I just keep it usually between myself and John. I won't talk to anybody else because then it's like, oh no, they're going to want to argue with me. And I'm just trying to be good old jolly.
The truth of the matter is, just before you go any further with that.
Yeah.
What if, instead of arguing with people about politics, you said things that made people thought and planted a seed that may mature one day at a later time? See, it's the same principle because you will never, somebody who's exactly on the opposite side of the fence, politically or religious or any of that, you're never going to, over a Facebook conversation, fucking convince them of your point of view.
No.
And in fact, I'll go as far to say, most of y'all out there, if you're actually out there doing that, most of your words can be fucking anticipated, meaning people know your argument before it's even said, meaning that you're conforming and listening to everybody else's shit and you're not even talking from the depth of your own heart.
Yeah. Plus, in all honesty, like a good to be able to have like a really good conversation, like you need to have that conversation with that person like in public. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, but it's like, why not try to plant a seed of thought?
Oh, I know.
There's something that doesn't spar their wall, their defense mechanism. Something that you plant a seed, and then if it, believe that these seeds you plant will mature and grow.
Yeah.
And if you
that's just like the whole thing with like politics and religion. Like I love my dad to death. But I cannot talk to him. Like he'll ask me a question or something, and I'll say something. It's funny, and he's just like. Like this man, my father just wants to argue with me.
He doesn't know what side of the fence he's on either.
But
he just goes back and forth.
But the thing that frustrates me is like John can be saying the same funny stuff, and my dad will start laughing.
Oh, I talk all kinds of shit. Her dad is like one of the nicest guys ever, and he's like one of the most. He was told when he was a kid that he had the nuns at his Catholic church.
So he went to. I want to tell the story.
All right.
So he went to a Catholic school his entire, during school, but here's the thing. Like he told me that like when he was a little kid, they said the nuns told him that if he did not go to church on Sundays, that he was going to go to hell. So this is what my dad did. My dad did not like going to church. He didn't. He totally despised it. But what he did was because he thought he was going to go to hell, and this was like embedded into my dad's poor brain when he was just a little kid. This is like kindergarten, and these nuns were telling him this. So what my dad would do on Sundays is, since he really didn't like going to church and all he wanted to do was play outside, with his friends, that he would wake up at the butt crack of dawn and go to the first mass. So the earliest, I think it was like at 5 or 6 o'clock. He would get up. He would not go to church with his family because they went to a later mass. He'd put his Sunday church clothes on, get on his bicycle, and go to church. And then he had it done and over with, and then he could go on and be a kid.
Yeah,
the rest of the day.
Yeah, and like what I was telling you, he was even like every night he's like one of the ones that would get down and pray right beside his bed and all that stuff. All like the whole 9 yards.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but I would say things to her dad is what I'm trying to get to. I would say things like we were at Christmas this year, I think, and we were talking about terrorists or something like that. And I asked her dad, I was like, so you know what the terrorists eat at Guantanamo Bay, right?
Oh, God.
And he's like, no, what do they eat? And I look over to her brother. I'm like, hey, John, why don't you tell your dad what the terrorists eat at Guantanamo Bay? And if you guys haven't watched Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay, like he knew exactly her brother knew exactly what I was talking about.
I forgot about that.
And if you guys haven't seen Harold and Kumar at Guantanamo Bay, it's like the soldiers there feed them cock meat sandwiches. And I tell our brother, I'm like, so why don't you tell your dad what they feed the terrorists at Guantanamo Bay? And he's like, I ain't saying that. And her dad looks at her brother and goes, what? What do they feed them? And he looks back at me, he's like, aren't you guys going to tell me what they feed the terrorists at Guantanamo Bay?
I think Jonathan even knew, and he had this look on
and
his
we
face.
all are just like, there's like 5 of us that knew around the table looking at each other going, who's going to tell them they feed the terrorists cock meat sandwiches? And that's the type of stuff that I do to him. What I tell him last time, I was like, hey, Tom, you know why they call them nuns, don't you? He's like, what? I said, because they don't get none.
No.
He doesn't laugh. I know he's laughing inside when I say that.
No, they were the church that he goes to or something, like they were needing more donations, and then they were asking people if they wanted to like put the church in their will or if they wanted to sign over their house or something of that nature. And I forget the stuff that you were telling my dad, but it was like funny. But then when I would bring something up, he'd get all serious with me, and I'm like, damn.
And then the last time we went out to lunch with them, we were outside of the mall, and there was the Big Dick's Sporting Goods store. And it's so funny. We were standing between a restaurant called BJ's, and then we had Dick's on the other side. Yeah. So I look over at her dad, and I say, "That's some big Dick's over there." And he goes, yeah. And finally, I look over at John standing beside us. I'm like, John really likes Dick's. And your dad was like, that's a nice store. He didn't even, it just went, and finally she goes, John, stop. And I look at her and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, your mind went straight to the gutter. I looked at him and I said, I can't believe you raised a young lady like this, Tom. That's how my conversations go with him. It's hilarious. Oh. He used to not like me. He would always say, well, he would always say, Everything that I said to him, he'd go,
He still gets down and prays every night like that. As a kid, when I would see my dad do that, like I don't know, that always warmed my heart.
It reminds you of like a movie or something. But going back to the planting of seeds, you guys, I want to say this to anybody who may be a new business owner or somebody who may be like in the paintless dent removal business who wants to get into another facet of it. The law of averages will definitely land you, like literally, if you go to 100 places, you're going to land 20 of them. You know, that's just the law of averages alone. And that law can like get even higher than that if you have the confidence to take the deal when you go in it and land it. You know, I'll give you guys an example. I used to try to get all kinds of car dealers and all that stuff. Wasn't really confident when I first started doing paintless dent removal, especially with sales and walking into places. I mean, I was young. I mean, you think about this, this
is like really hard to imagine.
You got like a 21, 22-year-old walking in your front door trying to fucking sell you something. You usually laugh at them.
A little bit older than that.
23 maybe. Whatever. I was young, you know, and I didn't look like I should possibly be selling anybody anything, right? And so all of a sudden one day I just woke up and I said, you know what, man? I was like, I'm done with this shit. I was like, I'm going to fucking I'm taking these deals. Yeah. I'm going in and I'm taking them. And I had it set in my mind that wherever I went, I was going to land that sale or I was going to get kicked out, one or the other. Yeah. And I went out do you remember that during a 1 week time that I landed something like 40 car dealers?
Wasn't that when you went up through?
We were going up through Bell Fountain and West Liberty and all the way up through there. Ended up landing every single car dealer like literally in 1 week when I made up my mind that I was not going to take no for an answer.
It was so funny because I think like I suggested that. I was like, oh, what about this area? And like the weirdest thing is like you left that morning. I think I tried calling you in the afternoon. I couldn't get a hold of you. And what it was is like that area has like some, I mean, I'm sure it's probably gotten better, but at the time it didn't have like the greatest cell service. And then eventually you called me and I was kind of like worried. I'm like, what is, going on? I haven't been able to like call you. And you were like so stoked. You were so stoked. You were like, I got this one and I got this one and I got that one. And yeah.
I literally had used car managers squirming in their chair because I wasn't walking out. They normally just like kick you out or whatever, or just tell you to leave. And I was basically just I would walk into the car dealer and I would jump in the car and act like I was going to test drive it. And what I would do is I would pre-call the dealer before I even got there. And I would say, hey, I was talking to a guy secretary answer. I'd say, hey, I was talking to a guy the other day. He said he was your used car manager. I'm like, I was out at breakfast and he was talking about some sort of car. What was his name? And this is before you could find it on their websites, and all websites weren't even really that big.
Yeah.
But they would give me the individual's name, and I'd walk in there, and I would just kind of like jump in a car, act like I was test driving it right in their showroom. Of course, a couple salesmen would swarm around me. I'd be like, hey, is Jack in? And they'd be like, yeah. And they would literally walk me back to his office, and I'd walk in and be like, hey, man, I've already walked over your whole car lot. This is what I found out here on it, and these are all the dents that I see on here and here. And, like, literally, I had this one guy, I remember it was a Steve Austin Chevrolet in Bell Fountain. Like, he looked like he was trying to find an exit. Like, he was staring at the door, looking back at me, looking up at the clock, looking at his watch, like everything.
Were you standing strategically where he couldn't get out?
Yeah, I was. He would have either had to make a scene.
Yeah.
Or he would have get out. Like, next thing you know, this guy goes, all right, man, there's a Chevy da-da-da out here. It's got a little ding in the quarter panel. You can go fix it.
Yeah.
Well, once they let you unload the tools, it's on like Donkey Kong, because now you get the law of reciprocity coming your way. Because now you've done something for them.
Didn't you do that dealership for quite a while?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Didn't you get to know a lot of them people?
I did.
And build like
Still
really good relationships
I
with
built
them?
very good relationships with all of them.
Yeah.
But I basically had to hammer my way in there.
Yeah.
So even the law of averages, but it all came down to my core belief. And basically me saying, no, they're either going to let me have the deal or they're going to kick me out of here.
Yeah.
One or the other. Never got kicked out one time. I did have one guy, though, that I could never sell regardless. But he was super nice.
What dealership was he?
I can't remember the name of it. It was a Chevy dealer in Urbana.
Huh. I wonder why.
I don't know. They had something. They had some sort of deal worked out with some company that rhymes with Schment Schmizzard.
Okay. I get you.
I don't know why I said it like that, but they rhyme with Schment Schmizzard. You know who always said that?
Who?
Tony Antonelli.
Oh, really?
What I used to call him, what was his last name? I used to say all the time.
We've talked about this.
I used to call him Antitelli.
Oh, man, poor guy. He's a nice guy.
Finally,
too.
he freaked out on me on a live podcast. He's like, it's Antonelli. It's Antonelli.
Well, he probably let it slide for so long, and then finally it just drove him bananas. He's just like, he's going to get my last name right.
Oh, man.
So tell everybody.
Tell everybody what?
About my broom.
Oh, yeah. You guys heard about the she shed last week.
It's not a she shed. It's
not a she shed.
No, it's my room. It's my,
Have you put any videos up anywhere about it?
I put it on Instagram on my thing, but I don't know. I could always take some really nice pictures and put it in the tactical group, but then probably people would be like, what is this? But it turned out so I had a vision, and somehow John was able to figure out.
Somehow I was able to.
Somehow you were able to go inside my brain and figure out exactly what I wanted, because this man created me my happy place. It has tons of shoes, handbags, clothing. It is just, he hung this beautiful chandelier, and it just is amazing. It's my heaven. It is my heaven. I have 94 pairs of shoes that are on display, and there's still some in the closet in there. But those are the one boots that I would have to stuff tissue paper or something like that to get them to stand up properly. They just weren't like the best ones to be on display.
I built the room with a golden hammer, you guys.
Oh, this room is to die for. It's like, in all honesty, it's like the best room to go into and take selfies. John knows.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you guys. That's something in the future I'm looking to get better at is carpentry. Not because I want to be a carpenter, but because I do love the finished result of woodwork. I love the idea, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not that good at it. You know, especially when it comes to fitting in corners and edges. But I know that I could. If I put a little bit of effort into it, I know that I could.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like I want to be able to build my own things, but I feel like it'd be almost more of like a hobby rather than something that, you know.
Yeah, something that you can work on and take your time at.
You know, a lot of that stuff, everything applies. I mean, it's patience. It's, you know, it's everything. Anytime we have a desire to do something, it's there to teach us something.
You hung them shelves up like amazing.
We put them bad boys in studs.
Oh, I went like that room is just amazing. I'm telling you guys, like you do something for your woman that she's just been wanting forever and ever and ever, and I'm gonna tell you, like she's just gonna like it's just gonna make everything better. It's gonna make everything extra better.
She loves her room.
I love my room. It's not a she shed though.
So, y'all, we got an announcement to tell you here, and you're going to be hearing a lot more about this in the future, but we are going into a new location.
Whoop, whoop,
it's much bigger than our current location.
This place is fucking awesome.
Yeah, so it's really, really cool. There's a lot of cool aspects about this building, meaning that it has more offices, which we need. You know, we're growing in every aspect. We're growing inside of the media end of our business. We're growing inside of Dent Trainer. We're growing inside of our tactical tools business, which you're going to see a lot more things coming out in the future with that. We're growing in every direction. Yeah. So because of that, it seems like we just outgrew our location. Mm-hmm. So I have the keys now, and I was talking about this last podcast. Something we're kind of hanging tight on a little bit. You know, I just want to make sure everything went through everything.
Was that yesterday when I seen it?
You went through there yesterday for the first time.
It is so clean.
It's a huge shop area, you guys. I mean, there's probably
so clean, and I'm just like, oh, this makes Mama happy over here.
Yeah, there's probably room to fit 15 cars in one side of the building. There's going to be a really cool room that you guys we're calling it the Tactical Tool Vault.
I thought we were going to keep that a little bit on the DL.
Man, this is our podcast listeners, girl.
All right.
Better be giving some love.
This whole thing, so like when John showed me that area of what he's wanting to do, like the Tactical Tool Vault, I was like, oh my God, like I just totally visioned this badass area, like just how like I have my shoe room, like this is gonna be like John's tool vault. And I just like when I walked into this area, I totally pictured everything. Like he was saying, oh, I want to get this and do this and that, and I like totally visualized it. This thing is going to be amazing, and when all of you guys see this, you're gonna be like, I need to get one of them myself.
Well, it's kind of cool because it's got double glass doors that go into the shop area. And it's got another glass door that goes into the office area and all that stuff. But we also have a separate lobby area up to the front of the building. So it's kind of like moving into a dent factory. It's
going to be amazing. Like, I can't wait till we're all officially moved in there and everything is completed and it's just everything's laid out the way that it should be, because it's going to be a bad mamma jamma. And
that's going to take a little bit of time, y'all. I guarantee you. We're moving into this. We got the mega media event coming up here in October. So literally like 3 weeks away from the mega media event. And then we've got this move and everything is just, it's coming together perfectly at all of the right times. And then after that, you guys know we got our epic Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
You know, we need to get you into some like super duper funny costumes. I wonder if we should take a poll or take a thing and see like what type of costumes people would like to see.
Oh, good
wear.
Lord.
Like, funny Christmas characters or something.
Well, we need to
like
put
that.
a poll too, because you're going to have to wear a costume.
Oh, I'm down. I like wearing costumes, but I'm not gonna be wearing anything slutty. So no, that ain't happening.
That might not be a good poll to have in a Dent Guy group then.
I don't. You know what? In all honesty, I think that the majority of the men would be respectful, and they're like, "That's John's wife. No, we don't want her to do that."
And then you got that drunk motherfucker shows up 3 a.m.
No.
Yeah! TDs!
No, that's not happening. I'm a very
Woo! Woo!
I'm a very old school kind of gal. Like I'm open minded, but I'm kind of very traditional.
You're not part of the underground Dent Guy swinger movement?
No. No, John, highly no, I'm not. That's disgusting. We're not going into that. Oh, that's disgusting.
Oh, come on, beer bellies and mustaches.
No, there's
Woo!
there's a bunch of diseases floating around.
Oh.
That's just, no. No, that is not me.
All right, everybody, we appreciate you, and I think that's a wrap, right?
That is a wrap.
Get out there and plant them seeds, guys. I'm not even talking about just seeds of. I'm talking about seeds of. Here's the thought I want you to take away from this podcast. Okay. A goal is a seed, all right? And what I want you guys to go out and do is set a big fucking goal. Set a goal that's scary, okay? Not because of what you're going to get, but the person that you're going to become to get that goal. Mm-hmm. That's what you got to think about. It's not what you get, but man, could you imagine the person that you become to be at that level? I don't know what your goals are. I don't want to plan anything in your mind. You know your desires. You know what you want. Mm-hmm. Okay? Something, big for me may be small for you. Something something that's big for you may be small for me.
Yeah.
Everybody has individual tastes. So whatever that goal is, whatever that big, scary goal is in your mind and your heart, put that out there, because imagine the type of person that you're going to become on pursuit of that. That's the true wealth. The wealth is not what you get. The wealth is the person that you become, because people can rob and steal and take away that wealth or that thing. It's the person that you become on that pursuit.
Yeah, it's your journey.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on that next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking hustle.
Ding-a-ding-a-ding.
No, you're supposed to say pew pew.
Pew pew.
And I'm supposed to say bang bang.
Yeah.